is well with you at this trying period. If so, continue keeping safe. If not, we hope and pray you come out of this period unscathed. It's another Wednesday, and as the pandemic continues to ravage the world with an upward tilt in Nigeria, News Extra will, for the third week running, focus on the pandemic and the efforts of government at the center and states to keep away from being infected or affected. On the bulletin tonight, we also have a beat on security issues, social welfare, some sports news, and an update on Thursday's weather prospects. So sit back and, as we have a whole lot for you tonight, as the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umar Buba, and this is News Extra. You're welcome. In the last 24 hours, 30 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported as follows: 25 in Lagos, 2 in FCT, 1 in Kano, 1 in Akwa Ibom, and 1 in Edo. The total number of confirmed cases in Nigeria now stands at 373. 99 have been discharged with 11 deaths. In the meantime, coronavirus cases exceeds 2 million globally as President Donald Trump sets to temporarily halt funding to a World Health Organization. Let's now join Adebola Brooklyn Sunday for this and more on Global Update on COVID-19.
It's nice that you're joining me on this segment of the news. Records from Worldometer shows that the global figure of confirmed cases from coronavirus as at 6:50 p.m. local time is 2,024,676, out of which 128,972 have died and 492,717 have recovered. In Africa, the International Monetary Fund's Executive Board has approved $115 million disbursement for Burkina Faso and another $114 million for Niger Republic under its rapid credit facility to help the West African nations confront the impact of coronavirus pandemic. And the World Health Organization's Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, says the organization is purely focused on saving lives and halting the coronavirus pandemic. Ghebreyesus made this known after U.S. President Donald Trump announced he was freezing funding for the organization. In Europe, the number of confirmed cases in Spain has risen by almost 5,100. Currently, Spain has 177,633 confirmed cases, 18,579 deaths, while 70,853 persons have recovered. Meanwhile, Denmark has begun reopening of schools after a month-long closure over the novel coronavirus pandemic, the first country in Europe to do so. I am Adebola Brooklyn Sunday. Thanks for your time.
Global update. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has made a case for aggressive case detection and contact tracing towards flattening the curve, as well as breaking community transmission, as efforts are intensified to control and contain the coronavirus pandemic in the country. This was while teleconferencing with members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in furtherance of his strategic engagement for appropriate response to the uncommon health challenge confronting mankind. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports.
Good morning, Excellency.
Very good morning.
This is the first formal interaction between President Muhammadu Buhari and the entire members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, established to, amongst others, coordinate multi-sectoral and intergovernmental approach towards containing the global pandemic. The interface provided the opportunity for the 13-member task force to individually give comprehensive situation reports, thoughts, ideas, and indeed challenges in the battle to contain COVID-19 in Nigeria.
Mr. President was able to hear from them firsthand, not a report through the leadership, as embodied in my person. He did ask some questions, he did make some contributions on basic issues and gave certain directives that we are working on ensuring that those directives are complied with. And he took our time to thank them personally for their commitment, for their patriotism, and for their dedication to this cause. And the reassurances that we got from Mr. President, I believe, would go a long way in helping the members of the committee become more determined and more resolute in the pursuit of this thing.
Maybe some of the new presidential directives to the task force.
More aggressive tracing, tracking, and isolation of those infected or those that have shown symptoms, testing to break the chain of any community transmission. I can assure you that there wouldn't be transmission. There would definitely be transmission, but if we're able to get ahead of the transmission, then we can deal with it decisively.
Worried over how the nation's economy will operate in the prevailing situation, President Muhammadu Buhari directed the task force to work with other critical stakeholders towards ensuring that the adverse effect of COVID-19 on farming in particular is minimized to the barest minimum.
Our people need to go back to their farms so that we are able to raise sufficient food for the people of the country. I mean, the strength of a nation is in its ability to feed itself. Once we are able to deal with issues of shortages of food and the rest of it, these other problems, we would overcome them.
During the engagement, both the president and members of the task force harped on the need for more cooperation, patience and understanding by Nigerians as efforts are intensified towards bringing to an end this unprecedented calamity.
The measures that have been taken are not punitive in any way. These are measures that are meant to secure the lives and the wealth of our people. Like Mr. President said, it is not a joke. It is a very, very serious issue. There's no time to play games. We're dealing with an unseen enemy that is vicious, that spreads fast, and it's not a respect of any protocol. So our people will need to understand that everything that Mr. President has put in place is for the good of our people and of our nation. And collectively, I believe, if we cooperate with the government and the processes and the protocols that have been put in place, I can assure you that we will be able to break the transmission and flatten the curve.
The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, said although adequate preparations have been made for the worst-case scenario at the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari, looking at situations in other parts of the world, it is the president's prayer that such facilities are never put to use for the coronavirus pandemic. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And as Nigeria takes drastic measures to contain the spread of coronavirus, the Buhari administration has been mindful of reducing the toll such drastic measures could have on poor and vulnerable Nigerians. The good news is that there is a plan to incorporate more citizens that will benefit from the palliatives in the coming days. Mitari Ikpeng, who covered the day's briefing by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, now reports.
Older persons in the society have been identified as vulnerable to contracting the coronavirus for obvious reasons. Most of them grapple with various health conditions that weaken the immune system. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says this group of Nigerians is not forgotten in the distribution of palliatives to cushion the effects of the extended lockdown in affected states.
The Presidential Task Force is fine-tuning the expansion of the palliatives for the poor, vulnerable, aged, and others as directed by the President. We shall reach out to all these groups very, very soon.
Among other issues that dominated the day's briefing, the Presidential Task Force laid emphasis on usage of the face mask by Nigerians, saying this has become imperative to guard against contracting the coronavirus.
It is critical that we learn how to properly put on the masks and take them off by their hands Once you touch the mask, especially when you touch the inside surface of the mask, that's exactly where we don't need you touching.
As part of the national policy on the use of face masks, state governments and corporate entities are advised to give priority to face masks when procuring personal protective equipment.
We had a meeting with the Nigeria Governors Forum. We all agreed that we needed to improve coordination and synergy. We need to provide a simple message to our communities on the need to protect themselves.
With testing capacity for coronavirus scaled up to 3,000 tests per day and 20 health facilities identified in Lagos State to collect samples from citizens, the task force is hopeful that much grounds will be covered in containing the pandemic within the 2-week extension of the restriction order.
I appeal to citizens to comply with invitations to isolation centers. This is your best option of recovery and for detecting possible complications in time.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, used the day's briefing to debunk rumors making the rounds that one of the quarantined Chinese doctors in the country has tested positive for coronavirus. He says this is not true and is fake news. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Allowing movement and distribution of food, pharmaceutical items and other essential products across the country is one unique and critical measure put in place to cushion the hardship associated with lockdown due to COVID-19. The Presidential Task Force has also constituted a well-established situation room with a view to monitoring and ensuring that the order of free movement of agricultural produce and product is not violated. Musa Baba Ali was at the Situation Room, domiciled at the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment.
The essence of the lockdown is to curb the spread of coronavirus as well as protect more Nigerians from contracting the disease. However, this action could be ineffective if the populace under the lockdown have no access to food, water, and other medical consumables. And this is the reason why the lockdown order exempts transporters of agricultural produce, water vendors, pharmaceutical producers, and marketers. To cap it up, a situation and monitoring room is established with a view to ensuring that distribution of essential commodities is not disrupted in any part of the country.
The mandate of this Emergency Operations Center is to facilitate the sustainability of production of essential commodities during the COVID-19 pandemic, facilitate the unhindered delivery of essential commodities across the country.
I visited the room where I met the manager in charge attending to complaints from a driver who placed a call from Minna, Niger State. He told me the Situation Room on a daily basis receives more than 50 calls from across the country, though most of them have been resolved.
We facilitated the delivery of humanitarian relief 2 days ago. Yeah, a trailer of rice and trailer of spaghetti.
The two ministers in charge of the Ministry of Trade and Investment are of the view that issues that cannot be resolved at the Situation Room would be referred to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
Manufacturers of fertilizer to be able to make sure that fertilizer gets to the farmers so that the harvest of this year isn't disrupted by this pandemic.
Attention now to major roads in Abuja, where transporters with permission to move with agricultural produce are finding it difficult to access roads due to the way private car owners are blocking the roads, thereby creating gridlock. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Musa. With the total lockdown taking its toll on the medium and low-income earners in the country, the federal government will ensure that the palliative measures put in place to soften the effect is fairly distributed. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, enumerated government's palliative measures on NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live, and Do India reports.
All around the world, for those who earn their bread on the daily hustle, it has been a diamond so far. Staying at home means another virus may be eating deep into their shallow pockets. However, A strategic work plan to minimize the economic impact on Nigerians became necessary. To this end, the federal government rolled out its stimulus package through the Central Bank of Nigeria to ease the burden of Nigerians. The government also put in place other social welfare programs to reach the lower strata of the society. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed joined other guests to empathize with Nigerians on the negative impact of the coronavirus pandemic on humans and socio-economic activities. The federal government, it says, will sustain the strategic plans in the interest of all.
Every country must adopt a strategy which is sustainable, which is practicable. We will not want to make an announcement just to please people. We want to make an announcement that we would actually implement.
Minister of State Health, Senator Olorunnibe Mamura, and other guests spoke on the progress of the medical intervention, security, and collaboration from other local and foreign partners.
What we need is what has been called all of society and all of government response. We have been doing our best, and we're hoping that our best will be good enough.
The main role of WHO is to provide guidance to countries, and we do this based on information that is pulled together at the global level.
Issue of people breaking stores or attacking vehicles, you discover that situation has been normalized. And there are other strategies that are being put in place too.
While encouraging Nigerians to maintain their calm and join hands with the government in all its plans to see an end to the pandemic, the guests want them to be wary of fake news which are in circulation to undermine the efforts of the federal government. Doing Dia NTA News.
And federal government is providing uninterrupted electricity for isolation centers as Nigeria battles coronavirus pandemic. Joshua Ojito reports that this initiative of the COVID-19 Power Sector Emergency Intervention Program.
University of Abuja Teaching Hospital Gwagwalada, hosting one of the isolation centers, is strategic in the ongoing fight against coronavirus, since the FCT has the second highest number of confirmed cases so far. However, the hospital is faced with the challenge of power supply. The intervention by the Rural Electrification Agency is timely, as it will aid the facility in managing patients in the isolation center. 53.1 kilowatt solar power plant has been built and handed over to the hospital.
In our mandate to serve clean, reliable power to the underserved and unserved communities in the country, I assure you we'll continue to try our best.
So this is like a backup, and this is what every facility like this needs.
This will definitely help us to ensure that the patients are comfortable, the equipments we are using to carry out investigations are met okay, safe, and everything we need to work with.
The NCDC Public Health Laboratory in Lagos, Ikene, as well as Ibirekodo isolation centers in Ogun State are also benefiting from this intervention, with more centers expected to be captured in the coming weeks. Implementing projects like these by the Rural Electrification Agency will help provide clean, safe, and reliable electricity to the isolation centers to enable health workers work effectively to defeat COVID-19 in Nigeria. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Nice development there. Now, the Nigeria Governors Forum has commended federal government for the 14 days extension of lockdown in Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory as part of measures to curb the spread of coronavirus pandemic in the country. The position of the 36 states governors came to the fore during a maiden teleconferencing meeting between its chairman and Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, and President Muhammadu Buhari. Nabakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The Nigerian Governors Forum told President Muhammadu Buhari that the extension of lockdown in the FCT, Lagos and Ogun states was timely and appropriate considering the impact of the ravaging scourge on the economy and social well-being of the people, but regretted the hardship faced by Nigerians. Chairman of the forum commended the testing strategy adopted by federal government and the comprehensive palliative measures put in place to assuage the plight of vulnerable persons during the lockdown and appealed for expansion of such programs to informal sector workers, especially the conditional cash transfer. Governor Fatima says since the outbreak of COVID-19, the forum has met 4 times and constantly reviewed strategies by various states and applied peer mechanism, shared experiences and collectively adopted areas of successes for the good of Nigerians. The forum appreciates federal government approval for the release of $150 million to augment projected FAC shortfall and appealed for suspension of all deductions by federal government to allow states address COVID-19 from position of economic strength and promised to review its budgets downwards to conform with prevailing realities. Chairman of the forum also appealed to the president to streamline and integrate states in all multilateral interventions and funding as demonstrated in the bailout and Paris Club refund. President Muhammadu Buhari commended Governor Fayemi for providing decent leadership at the forum and keeping all governors on course, which is said has assisted the federal government in finding easy access to subnational level. President Muhammadu Buhari says NGF should finalize all the requests of governors for prompt action. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
To win the fight against coronavirus is a task that must be done. No wonder Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, like President Buhari, has taken the bull by the horn and extended the lockdown for another 2 weeks. The governor also pronounced dusk to dawn curfew on the state to checkmate the movement of people not on essential duties. Tessie Coker tells us more.
After the initial 2 weeks lockdown declared by Governor Kowa, which was meant to elapse on the 14th April 2020, before the state recorded 3 COVID-19 cases, Deltas were eager for the governor's next move, either to suspend the lockdown or not. But that did not happen, as Governor Kowa's move to extend the days for another 2 weeks is for the good of the people.
By the powers vested on me in line with the Quarantine Act, and the subsequent Infectious Disease Regulation 2020, I hereby extend the stay-at-home order for another period of 2 weeks. We do know that this will cause some pain to our people, but it is for public good and for the interest of our health, and I want to urge all Deltans to please observe the stay-at-home order.
Advise security agents on checkpoints to treat health workers who are in the front line to mitigate the pandemic and other essential duty workers with caution. The governor said the foodstuff in state's food bank will be distributed to them evenly, irrespective of political or religious affiliations. To further curb the spread of the disease, the Delta State government is soon to commence the distributions of the face mask produced by the state to residents at no cost. In Asaba, Tessie Coker, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has warned that tough consequences await members of the organized transport sector who continue to breach the existing restriction order by resorting to night travels, a development that has proven to be counterproductive as it undermines the efforts of the federal government in curbing the spread of the deadly COVID-19. Consequently, the IGP has directed commissioners of police to ensure full implementation of the restriction order, especially as it relates to night travels without being unmindful of categories of exempted persons and the fundamental human rights of Nigerians. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated British Prime Minister Boris Johnson following his discharge from hospital over COVID-19. A statement signed by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, quoted a congratulatory letter dated April 14, 2020, to Mr. Johnson, where President Buhari said he received with great relief the news of the Prime Minister's discharge from hospital after being successfully treated for COVID-19, expressing delight on behalf of his family, the government and people of Nigeria over Mr. Boris Johnson's recovery. President Buhari also wished the Prime Minister full recovery and good health in the coming days. And matters arising from the impact of COVID-19 as we bring you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and a peep into some homes to see how families are flowing with the current tides. All these when we return. Please stay with us.
Fellow Nigerians, follow the instructions on social distancing. The irresponsibility of the few can lead to the death of many. Your freedom ends where other people's rights begin. The security agencies have risen to the challenges posed by this unprecedented situation with gallantry, and I commend them. I urge them to continue to maintain utmost vigilance, firmness, as well as restraint in enforcing the restriction orders while not neglecting statutory security responsibilities.
Glow Stay Home Data Plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
Public service announcement. The general public, especially parents and caregivers, are hereby informed that all primary health care centers, PHCs, remain open throughout the country, including states with a lockdown order. The outbreak of the COVID-19 in the country should not affect the routine services provided by the PHCs. Governments at the national, state, and local levels have put in place measures for safe delivery of all primary health care services at PHC centers. I therefore urge parents and caregivers to continue, as usual, to take their children to the PHCs closest to them for immunization, growth monitoring, antenatal care, childbirth, and other PHC-related service delivery. All caregivers, health workers, and Nigerians are advised to obey all government guidelines on social distancing, frequent hand washing, self-isolation, etc. throughout the period of the COVID-19 outbreak. Dr. Faisal Shoaib, Executive Director, CEO, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, announcer.
You can choose to manage everything else, but not your data. Get more out of life with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# today. Data is life.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Power outages have become part of our lives, and life can be a nightmare without power.
That's why, now more than ever, you need to take control of your life with Omaha Portables.
The power output of every Umar generator is exactly as stated in its power rating.
As long as there's Omaha, your home will have the reliable power you thoroughly deserve.
Omaha generator gives us peace of mind because it never fails us.
Omaha Portable Generators, inspired by you. Amazing Bluetooth, gripping 4K, high-def satellite receiver, vibrant colors, make you feel truly immersed in the action. Omaha Television, inspired by you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, in view of the COVID-19 pandemic we are currently challenged with, we at Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society enjoin all Muslims to adhere strictly to government directives geared towards stopping the spread of the virus. These measures include the stay-at-home order, washing of hands with soap and water, using hand sanitizers where water is not available, and other hygiene measures. We remind you all of the words of Allah in the Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 195, which says, "And do not throw yourselves with your own hands into destruction." We also remind you of the hadith of the noble prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which says, "Do not cause harm or return harm." Please stay at home and stay safe with continuous dua. This message is from Project Itfine of Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society. Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society, from Allah to you, a light.
Happiness can be found in the little things, even in just one smile. Stay positive, stay home, and stay nourished. Mortina, share happiness.
Good to have you back on News Extra. Another fourth night behind shut gates to wage a holistic war against COVID-19. Uncomfortable as it seems, the level of compliance is considerably okay at the city center of Abuja. And Mayor Ogidi's concern today is beyond the city center, but the satellite areas of the Federal Capital Territory.
The Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria's second coronavirus hotspot, and the government is denying the virus fertile ground it needs to spread fast. The locking down of the 6 area councils in order to avoid citizens being knocked down by the virus on the street. Sirens loud enough and the empty streets give an even more telling signal of these unusual times. The clarion call is, stay at home to remain safe. Lockdown in its true definition here in Buhari area of the FCT, major streets barricaded, not for a construction work, but as a barrier against the virus in killing mood. In Dusi, Gwagwalada, Kwali and Kuje, it is a different world in these locales. Obviously, the stay-at-home order does not exist. An oblivion of the oblivious. Traffic at its peak, many waiting for a drop to their destinations, while markets operating at optimal. Hopefully, what is being exchanged is just goods. In Zuba, youths in their numbers along major roads making appeals for assistance as the lockdown bites harder. For the government, the choices and sacrifices we make today will determine the duration of stay of the virus. For us, its quick eviction is of utmost importance. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
Well, you said it all there, Umar. Now, the fear of the spread of coronavirus in rural communities is one area that is of great concern to relevant authorities. As the number of infected persons continue to rise, there are some settlements with a nonchalant and carefree attitude towards it. And our roving camera captured one of such places, the Ruga City Gate in Abuja. Oinaya Kalu Oka will tell us more.
Ruga City Gate community is located along the Umar Musa Yaradua Express Road in Abuja. This densely populated slum is home to hundreds of people from different parts of the country. Living in shanties in an unsanitary condition, residents here are deprived of essential basic social facilities. With the spread of the coronavirus, little wonder the attitude of dwellers in these settlements. A visit to the home of the youth leader, Umar Abdullahi, gives a clear picture of what obtains here. Alam Umar Abdullahi is a 42-year-old man with 2 wives and 7 children living in this makeshift home. This is a typical setting of most homes in this Ruga City Gates. Besides his wives and children, Umar Abdullah still accommodates other relations. Observing the basic measures against the spread of the virus seems like a mirage.
Manage your life.
Okay, this one where government say make people know they stay close to each other. How will they manage with only 2 rooms? How will they manage?
So, how will do this is my family. How person don't want to leave the family. Anything where you come, just go manage your life, how you see your life.
Hundreds of people live close to each other, with many sharing rooms, toilets, and bathrooms. In this settlement, there is no sight of a hand-washing facility. People shake hands indiscriminately, and social distancing not observed.
They are not avoiding each other. We're supposed to avoid each other so that we live safe.
All our hope is with God. We just hope only God. We don't feel how we will do. If you deal with your family in the house, we are frustrated. They will always trouble you. Daddy give us food, mommy had this. We don't stay at home. So we live with better day where people gather so that we'll hear some information what is going on.
Maybe it's because this place is a local area.
Although some people are aware of COVID-19, but many are nonchalant about its danger.
Yes, we are afraid because if somebody affect that virus, we are in danger.
In Ruga City Gate settlement, everyone is going about their businesses with a carefree attitude. The need for more awareness campaign by the government in this place, many believe, is urgent, as a stitch in time saves 9. Uyina Kalu Oka, NTA News.
Sure, the station time saves 9. And as part of efforts to strengthen enforcement on the containment of coronavirus pandemic in Ondo State, the state government has imposed a curfew from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. indefinitely to resist community transmission. The state government also directed that any offender of interstate point of entry order, among other measures, be prosecuted. Olajide Bello, who monitored level of compliance in the state capital, reports that members of the public have been reacting to the government's decision in curtailing the spread of the virus.
Announcing imposition of the curfew, Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, who described the new case as tragic and unfortunate, having been linked to a medical practitioner who in the line of duty contracted the virus from the index case, said the curfew is intended to manage community transmission of the disease in the state.
It is clear from this particular case that unlike the previous 2, which were conveyed from outside the state, the current case is within a state. This has a tendency towards community transmission.
The governor frowned at what he called carefree attitude of some people by disregarding various preventive measures put in place by government in curtailing the spread of the virus, saying government will take some decisive measures to enforce compliance.
Arrest and detention of individuals found to have breached government directives on restriction of movement of persons and goods.
In the meantime, mixed reactions trail the imposition of the curfew, as some described the development as a constraint to their means of livelihood, while others viewed it as a welcome development.
I'm not Kadama, understand? It still affects me. Before, I used to gather like 3,000 before. For now, it's very difficult to me.
I say SIM card just win my living for a day. Then when I start by 7 a.m., I close by 6 p.m. You understand? So it's not affecting me.
Patrol of the various boundaries of the state with neighboring states have been strengthened as adequate records of those entering the state are being taken to facilitate easy tracing while vehicular movements are restricted. However, stakeholders have called on governments to heighten its enforcement
at the state entry points to check illegal movement. This morning, some commercial vehicles from Ibadan entered Akure, loaded and went back. Government should pay more attention to the borders. Shops and markets, especially in Akure and other major towns, remain closed to business in line with government directive. However, makeshift markets have sprung up within the metropolis to serve as alternatives. From Akure, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
And from Akure, we'll take you to Gombe, where the Gombe state government has procured the polymerase chain reaction PCR machine for the setting up of a test center in Gombe as part of the precautionary measures against the spread of the coronavirus pandemic in the state. Governor Mohammed Inuwa Yahaya revealed this in a statewide broadcast on the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. And Emmanuel Akila has the report.
The statewide broadcast by Governor Mohammed Inuwa Yahaya reviewed the measures put in place by the state government to stop the spread of the coronavirus to Gombe State and the performance of the state task force on COVID-19.
Gombe State still remains a zero-case status, and we pray and hope that the situation remains so.
The governor confirmed that the state task force on COVID-19 has prepared the state for any eventualities.
The task force has succeeded in achieving the following. 1. It has identified and prepared 3 centers for isolating COVID-19 patients. A PCR machine has been procured, and we are currently engaging the National Center for Disease Control with a view to obtaining the requisite accreditation.
Inuwa Yahaya, who commended the support of the people of the state towards curtailing the spread of the coronavirus to the state, called for continued adherence to the precautionary measures, warning against all forms of sabotage. The governor also assured of supporting the people with palliatives to cushion the impact of the measures to curtail the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
And while the frontliners in the fight against COVID-19 are working round the clock to ensure infected persons receive needed treatment, other essential service providers are out on duties, families are indoors, and are expected to stay safe. Now, Cecil Egbele went around the FCT seeking answers to the question, what do families do while on lockdown? Let's find out.
It's another 2 weeks lockdown here in the FCT and of course Ogun and Lagos states. I'm on the Ahmadu Bello way here in the FCT, the end towards the Gwarimpa axis, and you can see the roads are relatively scanty except for a few vehicles cleared by security operatives and those on essential duties. But you know what? This is not my story. Now this is my focus. With the lockdown on, families are at home, children back from school. Now the big question is, what exactly do families do while at home? Well, I'm in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Oche, and I'm about to find out what exactly they do while at home. Okay.
Don't worry, our own is original. Come in, please. So what I have done is they still do their normal private lessons with their private teacher. So we have time for that between 11 and 2 p.m. So we use Zoom to do that. In the evening, we do family prayer. Then, of course, everybody is out in the field, in the compound here.
Then we come back inside for dinner and, yeah.
Oh, God, let them please find the cure for coronavirus. I want to go to school and see my friends again.
And this is another vicinity here within the FCT. The family I'll be going to see now are also observing the lockdown. What do? They do exercise, come back, one sit down.
Before the time we will get something to manage yourself, eat in the evening, like this to sleep. We now, for inside room now, it will be 7 for inside one room. Well, that's the story of another household observing the lockdown here in the FCT. Tales
tales of two different families, you may say. Well, the prayer for the lips of everybody is let's get over this coronavirus and then see how we can help each other and indeed make our homes and of course the nation a better place. In Abuja, Cecile Egbele, NTA News.
Well, a prayer well said there, I must say. Now, coronavirus pandemic is taking its toll on every strata of human life globally. In Benue State, residents are not finding it easy with the record of an index case and measures put in place by government to curtail the spread of the virus. Hussein Mohammed Isa reports on how residents of Makudi are coping with the situation.
How are the Makurdi residents feeling the impact of the situation?
I feel bad because everything is increased money.
People doesn't come to buy, people no money. They complain. Some people have to eat before they come and buy something. Most especially clothes. But people can, anyhow, they can buy food and eat.
I've been indoor. That is number one. Number two, the cost of price of things inside markets is too much.
Price of various food items have also gone up as 25 kg of foreign rice that was earlier sold at 23,000 naira is now 25,000 naira, while local rice is now being sold at 28,000 naira as against the earlier price of 24,000 naira. 25 kg bag of beans is now 20,000 naira against the 16,000 naira sold before the lockdown of Benue State, while prices of cooking oil and semobita have also witnessed significant changes. Some school children in Makurdi have also resorted to hawking due to closure of schools, which they say is to help their parents.
I need to help my mom because of this coronavirus. She's not able to do anything.
Closure of major markets, schools and state borders are part of the measures put in place by the state government to stop the spread of coronavirus. In Makurdi, Hussein Mohammed Isa, NTA News.
While the conditional cash transfer was being rolled out to poor and vulnerable groups in the country, many Nigerians are wondering what becomes of the teeming youths who constitute a large population. Well, today, youths are also having a share of the palliative measures with the commencement of cash disbursement under the Youth Employment and Social Support Operation, YESO, another social investment program of the federal government. Umar Edit captured the exercise in Cross River State.
The YESO program is one of the social intervention programs of the federal government in collaboration with the Cross River State government. Beneficiaries constitute youths who are skilled or semi-skilled in various vocations and are persons who depend largely on daily work for livelihood.
I use it and support for my business.
I also thank the federal government for making this opportunity coming to the commonest person in the locality.
Cross River State government says the palliative is part of efforts to protect the livelihood of the citizenry while also protecting lives through social restrictions.
We have about 10,000 beneficiaries across the state. Every community has its own vulnerability index.
Head of Operations YESO, Francis Otu, says the 18 local government areas of Cross River State would be captured. It was also an opportunity to sensitize the people on the prevention of coronavirus with free nose mask distributed. From Akankpa local government area of Cross River State, Umar, NTA News.
Well, from that report, we'll all recall that a few weeks back, President Muhammadu Buhari instructed the payment of conditional cash transfer to registered poor and vulnerable in the society, and to reduce the hardship posed by measures put in place to curb coronavirus pandemic, while already beneficiaries are counting their blessings across the country. As the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, has assured Nigerians that the federal government will not condone any lapse in ensuring that beneficiaries of these palliatives are giving their dues. One service provider took this directive with levity. Now, the axe has fallen on the agency, and Ruth Aguela will tell us about it.
In the face of COVID-19, efforts have been made by the federal government to ease the burden posed by the coronavirus pandemic, as beneficiaries of the conditional cash transfer and other palliative measures put in place for the poor and vulnerable in society continue to reap the dividends. In matching words with action and ensuring that nothing is lagging behind, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development recently terminated a contract of a payment service provider who defaulted in line with its contractual agreement.
So we felt it is unfair to the beneficiaries to keep prolonging this process while others are benefiting. The process has been triggered using the World Bank processes and guidelines, and we have decided to use the existing payment service providers that are already in the program and they have the capacity to deliver.
This action taken by the ministry, the minister says, would serve as deterrent to other payment service providers to live up to their obligation. On its part, in meeting up with its obligation to sustain the NPOWER program, the minister reiterates the immediate payment of stipends to beneficiaries.
The government has their interests at heart. I have I have approved for the payment. I'm sure before the end of this week, we'll be able to pay these stipends.
While urging citizens to support the government in the fight against COVID-19, the minister also noted that an overhaul of the NPOWER program is still in progress for an improvement in service delivery. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
And thank you so much for that. Now, when we come back from the break we're about to take, we'll bring you cheering news that gives credence to the saying that COVID-19 is not a death sentence, just as more benefactors take up the task of cushioning the effect of the hardship of the times for others. Please stay.
Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Sọ tó ṣẹlẹ̀ fún mi. I just want to be alone. Free me, oh. I will not leave my house. They did what? Lady, I don't know what to do. I don't know. My way. Mama, what's happening? What's happening? Now you know. Now so we did. Follow my law. Reach where we did today. So but this is my husband's house. Everybody they try. We catch feelings. We life is sweet if you try. If you do better thing, you will drive, mama. Stay where you are. You are going nowhere.
Like this, series and much more. Download the Airtel TV app.
Mr. Announcer, you know tell them say this film is still there on top of fire. And you say me, we still the shoot,
So while we finish up this movie, you can download the Airtel TV app and watch movies like this and many more. No subscription or free access.
Joe, give me pattern. What be showing me, Johnny?
Download the Airtel TV app from Apple and Android Play Store. Enjoy for 7 days data free. Airtel TV by Airtel, the smartphone network. Awesome screen, awesome camera, long-lasting battery life. Awesome screen, awesome camera, long-lasting battery life.
Awesome screen, awesome camera, long-lasting battery life. Awesome screen, awesome camera, long-lasting battery life. Awesome screen, awesome camera, awesome screen, awesome camera.
Long-lasting battery.
Awesome screen, awesome camera.
Long-lasting battery life.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Your hogs are a comfy place for dropping in, for lazing around, and hanging out. So we've designed our hugs to be just as comfy, with a super absorbent core to lock wetness away, and the soft, flexible waistband. Our most comfortable diaper keeps baby comfy at every angle. We'll never stop finding new ways to hug more like you. Huggies, your hugs inspire ours.
There's something every mother has. It's something like a sixth sense, like knowing exactly when her baby's in danger. It doesn't matter where she is or what she's doing. She carries her family in her heart always and knows when all is not well, even when it appears like she might be wrong. A mother's instincts are hardly ever wrong. And she trusts M&B Paracetamol, the red one, to save the day. With fast-acting and effective M&B Paracetamol tablet, the red one, and its pleasant-tasting pineapple flavor syrup, she sends aches and pains far away from her family. Because mothers who know trust May Ann Baker for its over 70 years of quality experience. If symptoms persist after 2 days, consult your doctor. M&B Paracetamol. Pain can't stop you.
Hello everyone, hope you are keeping safe by washing your hands with soap or using sanitizers. Stay at home, it's the responsible thing to do, and whilst you're at it, you can do anything to keep your body and your mind together. Grow a beard like me if you want to, but please, let's stay at home. It's the responsible thing to do.
Go relive on GoTV. Welcome to GoTV's Relive Channels. This is a world of sports where you can relive the best sports moments on GoTV.
She does! Oh, he's got it too! Oh, they've got another one! Oh, see! Really is their night in town!
Go relive the most epic stories in sports on GoTV from our Relive channels on SuperSport on GoTV. GoTV. Live it, love it.
It is always great to know you're still with us on News Extra. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has announced the discharge of new 9 COVID-19 patients as at 5:50 in the morning of 15th of April 2020. The FCT administration is also urging residents to continue to obey the stay-at-home directive as well as adhering to all laid down precautionary measures. You know, the word quarantine is one word most people don't want to hear at this time. Talk of experiencing it. But hey, if you have to go through the experience and you come out testing negative for coronavirus, I guess it will call for, a celebration. Well, the Niger State government has just discharged 27 persons from one of its quarantine centers in Minna, the state capital. And Suleiman Kodogi reports that their discharge was confirmed by the State Commissioner for Health.
It would be recalled that the Niger State government last week Monday placed 27 persons on quarantine following their contact with a suspected man that came back from Lagos. The decision of the state government followed the signal received from the family members of the suspect for fear of the unknown. Government tracked down the suspect and the entire occupants of the vehicle and immediately moved them down to the quarantine center where the sample of the suspected person was taken for test to determine the fate of the other 26 persons who had contact with him.
Including them, the result is declared negative, and as such, we have no reason to keep them
under quarantine. On that note, we are discharging all of them.
The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Muhammad Malkunside, explained that out of 11 samples collected from the state, only 1 tested positive to COVID-19. The remaining 10 tested negative. He appealed to the people to shun fake news and continue to follow the medical advice towards containing and controlling the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
In the meantime, the International Press Center, IPC, Lagos, Nigeria, has launched an advisory to aid journalists in the cause of covering and reporting the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. Executive Director of IPC, in a statement, said generations of Nigerian journalists were covering a pandemic for the first time and therefore needed as much professional support as possible. IPC says the release of the advisory would be followed by capacity training for journalists in partnership with other media and communication professional bodies in the coming days. And in another development, more Nigerians are displaying empathy to the less privileged and vulnerable to cushion the hardship that may come with the lockdown. The latest is coming from the member representing Ikeja constituency, one at the Lagos State House of Assembly, Falajimi Lai Mohammed, who is collaborating with a private organization, presented staple food items to members of his constituency. And Michael Olale reports.
Time to exhibit these acts of kindness than now. This is because Easter, which symbolizes love, is coinciding with the coronavirus crisis, which is solidifying global unity on the need to be one's brother keeper. Being a grassroots politician with utmost love for his people, the lawmaker representing Ikeja 1 has shared vision of humanitarian gesture with the donor, which resulted in the presentation of 2,000 hand sanitizers, 2,000 face masks, 1,000 pieces of 5 kg bags of rice, noodles, and 2 handheld infrared thermometers.
Lagos was not needing too much when it comes to medical equipment, but food has to reach the poor masses because of the lockdown.
Due to the social distancing guideline, the direct beneficiaries were not present, but the lawmaker promised to embark on house-to-house distribution across the 8 wards within his constituency.
Life depends on what we are fortunate enough to be able to give others less fortunate today. It is generosity, and it is also pragmatic.
Progressive partners in the vanguard of ending the fight against COVID-19 commended the gesture with high optimism that the scourge will soon be history.
My appeal, however, is to our people in Onigbongbo to make judicious use of whatever they are being given today.
We appreciate your support for joining us to fight this disease, and we pray that very soon the fight will be over, we will win at the end of the day.
Since the total lockdown protocol was activated to reduce the ravaging effect of coronavirus, individuals and corporate organizations have been supporting government's quest at limiting the economic effects on the masses. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
And so another cheering one, where the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, is making an effort to support provision of water to Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, as an important measure in the prevention of the spread of COVID-19. It is in view of this that the NEDC inspected the Maiduguri water treatment plant as well as ICRC Alamderi Waterworks to assess their functionality for possible intervention by the Commission. And Jadwa John Jassini reports.
As part of preventive measures enlisted by the World Health Organization towards minimizing the spread of COVID-19 across the globe, hand washing with soap and running water has been identified as one of the best practice. It is in the light of this that the NEDC Managing Director visited major water distribution points in Maiduguri to ensure that people get access to adequate water supply. While conducting round the Maiduguri water treatment plant by the Commissioner of Water Resources, Engineer Tijani Agoni Alkali, the Managing Director was confronted with a lot of challenges, marring smooth operations of the plant, where management appealed for intervention from the Commission. the 67 cubic meter underground water reservoir, pumping station, chemical stores, as well as the powerhouse of the plant were all inspected by Dr. Mohammed Goni Al-Khali. In the meantime, ICRC Alamdari Water Treatment has its own challenges of failing to pump the expected 9 million liters of water per day beyond 3 kilometers of primary level.
We are checking this not only here in Borno State, but across all the nurses. You see that water is adequately available. I've mentioned some of the gaps they have here, so we can look at those gaps and see what can be done immediately. NEDC
and the Ministry of Water Resources has reaffirmed their determination to ensure that adequate water is provided, especially in this critical time. In Maiduguri, Jadwa John Jesini, NTA News.
You know, at challenging times like this, all hands must be on deck to fight a common enemy. That is why the National Lottery Trust Fund is playing its part in the fight against COVID-19 by donating an isolation center to the Daura General Hospital to save lives and provide standard healthcare services to the people. Abdul Malik Hassan reports.
The donated COVID-19 isolation and treatment center, which accommodates 5 patients, is well equipped to treat suspected COVID-19 cases. Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, George Akume, urged people to comply with the stay-at-home directive and other safety measures in order to curtail the spread of the pandemic.
Let us keep to that, because experience all over the world has shown that lockdown is working.
Katsina State Governor Aminu Bello Masari, while receiving the facility, says his government is committed towards ensuring proper management of the equipment for the benefit of the people. The Executive Secretary, National Lottery Trust Fund, Bello Megari, says the intervention is aimed at saving lives of people and other frontline workers.
The essence of our intervention, Your Excellency, is to deliver a world-class intensive care facility, well equipped with ventilators and personal protective gears, now urgently required to protect our healthcare professionals working on the front line to deliver excellent care to our people.
Bello Megari also promised his organization's determination towards extending the intervention to other parts of Nigeria. In Katsina, Abdul Malik Hassan, NTA News.
And the global economy is reeling from closures as a result of COVID-19, with the International Monetary Fund observing that the world may step into one of the worst recessions. On the heels of this, Abdullahi Mohammed takes a look at how the economic shutdown slows the pace of production and supplies of basic needs, as well as its impact on ordinary Nigerians.
Nigeria is not in isolation from what plays out in the global scene. Its economy has shut down for weeks now. The men and machines that produce essential goods are also on a standstill. This means a gap in supply is imminent, and local markets like the Buba market in Kaduna can give us a clue of the reality. Some of its biggest grocery and other essential items, herbs, were at their peaks as the 2-day window for restocking during the curfew opens. Yahya is one of the major players in the chain of supply of essential goods in the market. He told me that the shutdown has brought about acute shortage in supply of some essential goods, and as a result, prices have skyrocketed.
Prices are rising by the day.
On the flip side is Chidi, who deals in brand new vehicle tires and motorbikes. And now that imports from China is put on hold, he says supply is failing to meet demand.
And as a result of this, consumers, that is the people that come to buy, are going to get these commodities on a very high price.
We are all familiar with the importance of this kind of goods to families across the world, and any kind of slight change in the prices of these goods may send signals of worries and frustration to these families.
The federal government has doled out palliatives to millions of households across the country. But with prices of goods looking upwards, the family of Malam Abdullahi and Kabir must keep the food on the table for their dependents in a curfew that has kept them homebound with piles of demands at all cost.
Even the smallest measure of tomatoes costs 500 naira now.
This child and the other are suffering from sickle cell anemia. Managing them at this critical time is difficult.
If you are still looking for those who are paying the biggest price in the fight against COVID-19, then check the family next door. In Kaduna, Abdullah Muhammad, NTA News.
I would say true talk there, Abdullahi. Now, being a soldier is serious business, and any act of impersonation comes with dire consequences. Just as we bring you good news on the path to peace, Benue and Taraba states have embarked upon. Details when News Extra returns. Join us again.
Today, the cessation of movement, physical distancing measures, and the prohibition of mass gatherings remain the most efficient and effective way of reducing the transmission of the virus. By sustaining these measures, combined with extensive testing and contact tracing, we can take control and limit the spread of the disease.
I just don't understand this coronavirus thing. Is it real?
See, coronavirus, known as COVID-19, it's a global problem and has killed thousands of people in China, Italy, Spain, UK, US, and other countries around the world.
Okay. Now, why are they saying that we should stay home?
Because if you go outside and get in contact with someone who is infected, you become infected and then come back home, affect your family. That's how it happens in other countries.
Now, please, help me explain what this social distance is all about.
See, as we are now, the virus travels through the air and by touch. We must maintain 6-foot distance at all times.
Oh, so it's not by washing my hands with soap and water or hand sanitizer that is only important?
Washing of our hands regularly is very important. But we must come together and fight this virus like we did Ebola. It is our responsibility to each other.
For you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To clean your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for stains in the toilet. Harpic Thick formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach.
Wow! Now I'm convinced, Helen Paul.
Really?
Yeah!
Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for staying. Lagos and Ogun State, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, are the trio under lockdown, where people are expected to stay indoors due to the coronavirus. But some of the inhabitants of the FCT are defying this presidential order in the name of keeping fit. And Adebola Brooksland Sunday visited some of the areas where such activities are taking place in the FCT.
As early as 6 a.m. local time, residents of Galadimawa and Games Village area of the city usually troop out to trek, walking towards the same direction for one form of exercise or another. A good way to keep fit, one will say. Thanks to these law enforcement agents who came to disperse them to guard against the spread of coronavirus.
So we have to come out to make ourselves happy. And the police are even harassing us.
You distance yourself from others, do the jogging, and go back home. Because if you have it and go for treatment, that same 1 month you are afraid of, you will be in the hospital, be in isolation, be traumatized, and your family members will not see you, and you will be gangling between death and alive.
Some residents of Gwarimpa Kubwa and Lugbe Airport Road are also guilty of this violation. Call it a festival or picnic, you might not be wrong, as they form clusters in 10s, 20s, and even more. For some of them, it is one of the ways to reduce boredom.
Me particularly, to forget about my sorrow and move forward.
But as the world grapples with COVID-19, one of the precautionary measures prescribed by health experts is social distancing, which is not observed here.
Taking a look at these people and their formations, obviously they are careless about this measure.
Do you think you are doing the right thing?
I'm not doing the right thing, but I can't be sitting at home. I'm tired. I need to come out and burn some fats.
Many of us are also coming out here for another thing different. So, to me, I'm coming out for exercise.
The lockdown order is for Nigerians to remain indoor, except in search of essential items like food, water, and medicine.
Key prevention measures that we have instituted, which includes physical distancing, hand disinfection, respiratory hygiene.
Well, the lockdown has now been extended for another 2 weeks. Adebola, Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Please, Nigerians, let's just do the right thing. Let's just do the right thing, please. Coronavirus is devastating the world. Statement of fact. But life must go on. Another statement of fact. That is why it's heartwarming that a non-governmental organization in Yauri, Kebbi State, donated some relief materials and cash to the needy to survive. The effective measures to curb the spread of the virus, and also traders who lost their goods to a recent fire disaster in the area. Noura Tanko Wakili reports that the Emir of Yauri, Dr. Mohammed Zayan Abdullahi, who presented the cash assistance, said the gesture couldn't have come at a better time than now.
People of Teshangarkwa area in Yauri woke up on a fateful day with the disturbing incidents of fire disaster, which raced down their market when a petrol tanker involved in a land accident and caught fire immediately. Since the incidents, the market became a shadow of itself as the usual bustling and hustling in the area ceased to exist. Although no life was lost, property worth millions of naira were destroyed by the inferno. Sequel to the appeal by the Emir of Yauri, Dr. Muhammad Zayano Abdullahi, calling on individuals, corporate organizations, and governments at all levels to come to the aid of his people to cushion the effect of the hardship caused by the disaster, the Mainstream Foundation, an organization with special interest in the riverine communities affected by the construction of Kanji and Jeba dams, has heeded to the call.
Last year, they gave food and other building materials when there was flood. And this time around, because of the fire disaster, they came and distributed money on a total of about 10 million.
Some of the beneficiaries commended the gesture and promised to use the support judiciously. An appeal to Yauri local government council and Kebbi state government to construct shops for them, which will also serve as a source of revenue generation.
The way how he helped us, he gave us all this kind of support, we are very happy.
That money is very great. It is going to help these people to continue with their business.
With this development, some of the victims have started erecting temporary structures to start up their businesses. In Benue, Kebbi, Nuratan Kokili, NTA News.
As the nation grapples with the economic impact of COVID-19, some property owners at the popular Dugbe market in Ibadan are counting their losses following a devastating inferno that gutted the market. And Dayo Ogunshola has the details.
NTA News got to the scene of the incident, which is at Dugbe-Alawo, one of the popular markets in Ibadan. Combined teams of men of fire service have succeeded in subduing the rampaging inferno, even though a lot of property has been destroyed. NTA News gathered that as part from partition operation by one of the shop owners ignited the inferno, all individual efforts at putting out the inferno yielded no result.
There is one man trying to do one thing or the other inside the shop, and the weather that the man called to help him to repair something inside the shop. But unfortunately, when the man tried to weld in something, it just catch fire.
When we saw flame and smoke flying in the air, so we had to branch and trace the source of the fire. That's how we got here.
I only want to appeal that when fire started at the initial stage, despite the fact you are trying your own personal effort, you should try as much as possible to call fire service on time.
Victims, including the owner of this car, who only visited the market to make purchases, will not come to terms with the sad reality. Security agencies, especially officers of Nigerian Police Force, were on ground to maintain law and order, especially to prevent some criminally minded people from looting property. In Ibadan, Dayo Mushola, NTA News.
A very unfortunate incident there. The Nigerian Navy has concluded exercise Treasure Guard 2 as part of efforts to boost and protect economic activities on the nation's maritime domain. And Dotun Oguyemi reports that the 3-day exercise is also to build more confidence in the operations of seafarers calling out the nation's seaports.
It is a duty they are sworn to do. Despite the spread of COVID-19, other threats linger at sea, to which the Nigerian Navy is committed to eradicating. Exercise Treasure Guard 2 is putting a step ahead of illegal vessel operators who are in the habit of switching off their automatic identification system to evade arrest.
We've been prepared for this exercise for over 3 months because we've had series of coordinating conferences with international partners as well as with maritime law enforcement agencies. So the cancellation of the Obangame Express did not really have any adverse impact on our preparations.
Exercises such as rescue operations, visit board, search and seizure, gunnery and fleet maneuvers were staged.
The challenges we face in our waters are issues of piracy, illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing. We have issues of human trafficking and sometimes armed trafficking.
The exercise, which was hosted by the Western Naval Command, also involved relevant maritime law enforcement agencies and had the participation of 6 vessels and 2 helicopters. In Lagos, Dr. Oguyemi, NTA News.
As the world battles coronavirus, there are other efforts to tackle some subsisting challenges and resolve other societal confrontations. One of such is the conflict that has traumatized the people of Benue and Taraba states. We now hear that the 2 states have agreed to mop up light weapons in the hands of ethnic militia groups for peace to reign. This is one of the resolutions at a meeting in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, and Ali Tijani Mohammed reports.
Crisis between Tiv and Jukun of Benue and Taraba states lingered, leading to loss of lives and property. Deputy governors of the two states led their delegation to Nasarawa State, described as neutral ground for the peace accord.
The meeting resolved the governors of the two states should meet with traditional rulers in their frontline communities and sensitize them on the need to live in peace.
They also consent to provide relief materials to the victims. Also, government of both states are to return home all IDPs and security be beefed up in flashpoints. Governor Abdullahi Sule coordinated the dialogue.
You have chiefs in Taraba State, you do have them in Benue State. But each one of them, let them see the two states as their homes. Let them not consider a situation where once we have a problem, we run to where we have majority of our people. If we continue to do that, we will not solve these problems.
Traditional rulers at the meeting say it is fruitful towards achieving peace and harmony. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani Mohammed, NTA News.
Trust us not to wind up without taking you to the world of sports, and when we come back together, we'll round things up nicely.
Aggressive disease containment.
Now on lockdown.
It is one of the measures taken by the country.
How long is all this for? Scientists say that's the big question.
News that connects you globally, from the world to your home, with 4 leading news channels 24/7. Live breaking stories on GoTV. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
You're welcome. Sports administrators see brighter days after COVID-19, and Kene Ima Abduke brings us details and more on Sports Update.